Okay, Walter is back, and he's more thoughtful and considerate than he ever was, and they just do whatever with him as long as he fits Lahela's story, right? No, but seriously, Walter is a pretty decent boyfriend here, and if that is the most important thing to take away from this episode, and I believe that it is supposed to, then I guess good job. Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts after a Disney Plus watch, and I'm glad you are watching the channel that's all about Disney Plus movies and TV shows. So just fair warning here before we start, I do want to discuss spoilers to really do this episode justice, so you can press that watch later button if you haven't seen it yet. Still here? Let's do this. This episode begins with Lahela and Walter making plans for her to meet his friends at the skate park, but once again Doogie's busy and gets called back into the hospital, where she finds her patient making out with his recently married wife. And of course, this setup is not only a witty joke, but something that pays itself off in the end, as Lahela, stuck between boyfriend material, hears from the patient's wife near the end of the episode how she reconnected with her husband after a long time, how she realized he was always the right one for her, making Lahela realize Walter is right for me despite our differences. I don't want to see myself making the same mistake. And I think it was pretty well done here. The episode also really made me believe, as soon as we saw the library boy, that the season was going to build up to her leaving Walter for someone that actually is a fit for her. That's the first thing that came to mind. I was already figuring out, hey, we're in episode 8, so only 2 episodes to go after this. This would be a fitting, overarching thing to have Lahela break up with Walter eventually for him. And it actually subverted my expectations a bit, and the episode was going for the message, no matter your differences, if someone is right for you, it's not because you do not or don't like skating or poetry or whatever, it's because they just simply care about you and have patience. And I'm not gonna lie, I was rooting for this boy to claim Lahela instantly, because so far Walter has come off as a bored teenager who just wants to watch his shows, do his thing, and doesn't really seem to care all that much about Lahela. So I guess this episode makes his character a little weird and undefined for me, but it did wonders for the story of this episode, because again, it was a subversion of the typical Disney trope, you gotta wait for your prince, you know, and count on the perfect boyfriend to come to your path. No, sometimes just caring about someone is more important than finding the one, the perfect fit, you know. By the way, this show is real awkward in selling some of the secondary characters, I believe. Walter's friends were enormously caricature goofball teens. You know, there's never any nuance in these characters and this world they're creating, and this show always feels a little bit fake because of it. I don't know, is it me? Yo dog, them little pickles are dope, let's skate, walking's for dopes. The way they talk and all, I don't know, maybe you have different thoughts on that, but yeah, it's starting to get a little bit weird how two-dimensional and comically caricaturish these background characters are. Makes the world feel a little bit less real. I guess Clara fighting for being liked and appreciated so that people hopefully would recommend her for chief of staff. That story was quite enjoyable. This side of Clara where we see her lose control of herself a bit was fun. This character is always so in control of her emotions and actions whenever she's at work, so I guess when it comes to social stuff, I can imagine she has some work to do. So yeah, I guess that was enjoyable. Oh, and by the way, something I could really relate to was the scene where Benny finally returns to the family after having talked to practically everyone on the market. Not to be cliche, but that really reminded me of the times I was still in school and my dad would pick me up, but we would just hang around there for like an hour because he was chatting with all of the other parents. So seeing Kai and Brian waiting around for him like forever, bored and tired, yeah, that is super relatable to me. Brought me back to my childhood for a brief moment, which is always good. And by the way, the storyline surrounding Kai and Brian was alright. I don't know if this episode needed a third story to follow, because not much time was spent on it. What I take away from it is that these two brothers have different views on what's important when starting a business. Brian's more of the business side of things, and Kai's more one to go for the craftsmanship side of things and the integrity of the profession. There's increasingly less to talk about every week with this show, because it's still a bit of a template thing. I'm still just mildly enjoying it. Yes, I'm still mainly positive on this episode, but it's really hard to love this show, right? Overall, it does seem like the show is really playing it safe, but yeah, this episode subverted my expectations a little bit with the boyfriend's storyline, and it brought me back to a childhood memory, so there's that. Overall, yeah, I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious, what did you think of this episode? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. Don't forget, if you enjoy the idea of discussing Disney Plus content with us, that red button looks familiar, right? And if you're interested in thoughts on previous episodes, it's all in the description, or you can browse the channel page. Did you like this video? Then be sure to consider giving that a click. Thanks for now, have a wonderful day, and see ya.